or as different levels that contain that idea come into existence. The idea of the unbroken oneness is not so much literally that it contains an actual side-by-side cohesive interaction with the polarities you experience. It is simply one thing that can create itself to become different things. For there are many different universes that express the unbroken wholeness of the soul when it chooses to differentiate itself in many other ways other than the idea of simply positive and negative polarity.
Like what? Yeah.
This will really have no frame of reference for you. It almost does not have a frame of reference for us.
Bashar?
Good.
There's something I want to discuss with you. But also it's break time. So, can we take a break and then discuss it with you after the break?
All right. You may all take a short break. All right, I'll say. Bubba.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I want to talk to you about Sancha. Sancha is the female energy that I've been channeling for the past. Okay. Number one, it has two parts. Number one is I understand her at this point to be predominantly serious fifth density energy.
All right.
I don't have a lot of information on that at this time. Is it the timing to find out anything more about?
Do you wish to be obvious about this?
Do I wish to be obvious? Yes.
All right. Then, in the asking of the question, in one sense, if that is the way you wish to ask the question, that is the answer. Is it the timing to know more? Do you know more? No, that is the answer.
Okay. Now is a new time.
All right. How have you created yourself to be now? In your recognition of your relationship to Sancha.
I'm allowing you to be an obvious reflection of what I already...
Pretty sneaky. All right. One moment. Stand up.
Should I touch you?
Stop down. Springs and doorways, combinations, as you would call them, to unlocking different aspects, different probabilities, can be the energy that comes through your solar plexus, the idea that you can function as a series of gateway, rings, and doorways that reflect different combinations of probabilities to different individuals, in that you can represent yourself as a reflection with the idea of Sancha and the Sirius energy as a crystal in which a series of reflections can be viewed by different individuals. You can think of yourself as presenting yourself as a series of probabilities in one simultaneous presentation. Through the intention, doorway, chakra, solar plexus, allow yourself to perceive that the white light of your blending comes through in much the same fashion, so it may take on a transparent, ghostly, milky quality in coming through that chakra. Allow yourself to view it as the smooth, reflective alabaster surface of a mirror in which other individuals within the milky substance and fluid can see reflected from you all probabilities that they can participate with you in that you are constantly fluctuating between the ideas as you are presenting them of quasi-planar reality, mass energy conversions, thus always functioning as a timing stroke in its sense for individuals and yourself to recognize the many probabilities that come with each event. Sid.
Thank you, Bashar. Now, one other thing that you may have already included that with the idea of the white light, but right now I'm increasing the energy of Sancha, allowing her, or it feels like a female type energy, to come through more, the emotionality to come through more, and allow myself to step back more.
This is why we say utilize the solar plexus chakra, the chakra of intention, and simply view yourself that as the energy comes through, it will pour out of that area and form a magic mirror of reflection.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Bashar,
Thank you.
are we going to be able to hear from Arcturus again soon?
Soon.
Oh, can I ask? I'd like to ask you a question about something. My big dog Malabar attacked my little dog, the new edition.
All right.
And
do you remember what we shared about the ideas that they represented?
Yes, but I couldn't really figure out in terms of, well, he's done that with Jamie once, and from an obvious point of view, he must assert his dominance, and I suppose it has something to do with...
It has to do with the idea of tradition.
Tradition?
The idea that we're now exploring is the uprooting of tradition in terms of the idea of what is now comfortable. The dog is reflecting that there is a sensing that you are uprooting tradition. And in this way, may reflect some minute hesitations within you to exemplify that completely as you may like to, by indicating that you may have reservations and allow the traditional aspects, the foundational aspects of your transformation to conflict a little bit with the new elements of sensitivity.
Interesting. Now, in terms of negative emotions that we mentioned earlier, obviously when this happened, I got very scared.
Obviously?
Well, I did get very scared.
All right. Allow yourself to give love equally to both. And in this way, nurture them both and let them both know as a representational symbol to you and yourself within. As you nurture them, you are nurturing yourself to understand that you can blend the idea that you are not getting rid of anything, that something that is tradition is not losing its place, but simply in this way forming a new tradition.
Okay.
Seeing a reflection of the new within itself and coming to equal terms with it, so that both are comfortable within the blended environment.
Okay, I understand that. Thank you. The question related to that was that when I got so scared, I was sort of comparing that emotion to those 50 seconds anger kind of thing. It was like my heart was beating real fast.
Right.
And it wasn't the fear, I think, that we were talking about earlier. It was just a reaction, just like when you have the 15-second anger.
All right. But that energy accelerated you so that you could form a blending of those supposed dichotomies.
Thank you very much.
So that your fear could be channeled into the idea of compassion outwardly rather than fear inwardly.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bashar?
1 moment.
Yes, what's going on?
Well, now that you have allowed yourself the opportunity of reflection, of release and centering, how do you stand with yourself?
I feel much more centered and much different now than I did just a little while ago.
All right. You have made the choice to do so. It is totally under your control. Recognize that as far as life is concerned, you are not asleep at the wheel. You are going where you need to be going. Exactly as fast as you need to get there. Is there anything else you wish to share at this time?
I have, of course, a million questions.
Of course. Why, of course. If you have a million questions, you have one answer for each and every one of them. Questions are only answers that are separated from yourself. Again, if you can even conceive of the notion, it does not matter whether you put it into a form you call a question or not. The conception even of a question shows you that you contain the information. Putting it in question form is only having the information separate from yourself, to act as a reflection to show you what you do contain, as a reminder. Simply because you are used to receiving reflections from seemingly outside, so you create the information within yourself to come to conscious recognition from an unconscious state of being by creating something that is a form in which you can recognize it consciously, a form you will allow yourself to recognize it consciously in, a question. This does not mean you cannot ask one.
Oh. Okay, the being that appeared before me last week. I'm confused about the being that appeared before me last week as to whether it was outside of myself or a higher version of myself or an entity wanting to be channeled or...
May I ask you a question? What difference would it make?
Well, it would make a lot of difference because then I would feel better.
You would feel better.
If I knew how to address this person. I mean, impolite.
Impolite? That is a concept in your reality.
Yes.
Do you think that the consciousness thinks you are being impolite?
Well, I don't know what the consciousness thinks.
Yes, you do.
Well,
What do you think the consciousness thinks? If the consciousness were something that you would allow yourself to think it is, how would you think it would think? Pretend you know what it is.
Pretend I know what it is.
Okay. Right now, pick one. Pick anything. What is it? I'll let you get away for a while with pretending. So your choice does not have to be chiseled in steel. Pretend it is something. Anything will do. What is it?
Okay, I'll pretend that it is a wise old being from long ago and far away, or in the future and far away.
All right.
An outer.
All right.
Being rather than an inner.
All right. Although later I will ask you again, what is the difference? However, for now it is a wise old being from far away, past, future, who knows. Now, since it is, in your estimation, a wise old being, what do you think it thinks of you?
Well, I think it must think I'm pretty swell and love me a lot.
All right. You mean exactly as you are?
Yes.
No matter whether you know what to call it or not?
Yes.
Then what difference does it make? Why not simply relate to it as you feel like relating to it? It doesn't care what you call it. It will still relate with you. It won't be offended.
I guess I have an expectation that it's going to introduce itself with a name like everybody else's entity seems to have names.
It might. It might not. Everybody else's entities don't always have names.
Call it Jones.
Yes, you can. Good a vibration as any.
A lot of Jones entities don't have names.
All right. Then, by simply granting yourself the equality of knowing that however you wish to interact with it, you will be able to keep up with the Joneses. Simply recognize that if and when a labeling of any type is necessary, it will be there. In whatever form it needs to be there. If it isn't there, you don't need one yet. Relate to it on whatever level you are related to it upon. Call it whatever you will. It doesn't matter. The important idea is simply to relate to it as you feel so inclined. Let the interaction commence.
I felt a tiny little bit of fear, and then I was afraid that feeling the fear would put it off a little bit. So
once again, what you are receiving, because of the definition of your understanding of what it is non-judgmental. It is not going to be put off.
okay.
But it is going to wait for you to make up your mind whether you want to interact or not. And not need so many proper formalities of etiquette before you will let it be all right to interact with. It will be comfortable in whatever house you provide.
Oh. Okay.
That is its nature.
I thought maybe I had to abide by some regulations.
Only that you love yourself and stop pushing yourself so hard. All right. Thank you. Dave.
One of the greatest difficulties I have in opening myself up to and realizing the synchronicity of all is the feeling of vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Good one. Vulnerability is not weakness. Do you think it is?
No, I think there's a strength in...
A strength? Vulnerability is strength. Vulnerability. Complete vulnerability. Pay attention. Follow along. Is being open to everything. Being open to all that is. Being open to all that is being connected to all that is. Being connected to all that is a position of ultimate strength. Vulnerability is strength. It is trust. It is knowing that to open yourself up to all that is, then you will be supported by all that is. Because all that is, once you allow yourself to recognize yourself as an integral part of all that is, you then create yourself to function like an integral part. And all that is would not be all that is without you. Therefore, vulnerability is strength by definition. Judgment is what creates the feeling of weakness, not vulnerability.
Judgment on yourself, right?
Yes. There is nothing else. There is no one else to judge. Judgment of others is judgment of yourself. Judgment from others, if you accept it, is judgment of yourself. Evolve.
Yes. There are a lot of different frequencies of
So
energy.
the idea of unity is to grant equal validity to all the diversity within creation. Again, allowing all the ways all that it has of expressing itself to be equal on their own terms. Does not mean it has to affect your life. Just because you recognize that there are other frequencies doesn't mean that one of those frequencies has anything at all to do with the life you know your frequency to be, if you simply recognize that it has nothing to do with you.
Okay.
Just because you are, quote-unquote, exposed to the reality that other ways to live and other ways to present their version of all that is to you, doesn't mean that you have to feel it as being forced down your throat.
Okay, I personally have been very influenced by other energies in my environment. Is that just because?
It is your choice to be influenced. Nothing influences you but you. Nothing. They are offering. How would you like to be influenced by, oh, say, pollution? Yes? No. Yes. Thank you? No. Thank you. It is up to you to be influenced. But you create your version of that gift in your reality if you are experiencing it. You have to create it for yourself in order to experience it. So all you are doing is agreeing that it would be for you an appropriate thing to create. If you simply understand that the tool you are being offered is equal to any other tool, is valid, if you should decide to accept it, it will serve you because you do not accept anything else. But if you simply recognize that it is a tool you do not need and that you can learn what you need to learn in other ways, in ways you consider to be more positive, then simply recognize that it does not have to manifest in your life. That if you recognize what the purpose would be should you have accepted that idea, then you can also recognize that the same purpose can be served by creating another way in which it can manifest in your life. One that is more relevant to the vibration you know is true for you. Does that assist you?
Yeah.
Fun.
I still have difficulty with it.
Do you understand that the phrase, I still have difficulty with it, is only a belief?
Okay.
Why do you insist that that is a part of your reality?
Probably because it always has been.
So what? One moment is not connected to the next. Now is now. Has nothing to do with the past, unless you choose to make a connection. The present is not a result of the past. Now is now. It is always a new now. Just because you may choose to define each and every now as seemingly similar to the last one, does not mean it has to be.
Okay, then what's your advice for clearing oneself of these fixed ideas?
What I just told you. Recognizing that every single moment in time is its own separate now. Now is now, and not the now you used to be a moment ago. The only things you experience in any given now are the result of what you define your reality to be according to what you believe it should be. Redefine your reality. In other words, if you simply recognize that you have a choice between the preference, the opportunity to believe, it is difficult for me, it is easy for me, which one do you prefer? Well, which one do you prefer? It is difficult for me to change, it is easy for me to change. Which one do you prefer? You are making your choice right now. Because you are choosing to make it difficult to choose a preference. Which one do you prefer?
It's difficult.
Why? Obviously, if you prefer it to be difficult,
to learn from it.
It must serve you. However, you can also understand that the opportunity to choose to prefer that it is easy is always just as equal a choice at any given moment. At any moment whatsoever, you have the option of saying, all right, I am through with the belief that it is difficult. Now I will choose that it is easy. And as soon as you truly do choose it, it will be easy.
Thank you.
Understand something, once again. Change is the only constant in the universe. Things are always changing, always transforming, are they not?
Yes.
Then recognize that is what happens anyway. What you think always stays the same is never the same. Never. Every moment is a new moment. Even when it seems to be the same as the last moment, it is a new version of the idea. You are creating the idea that there is a continuity. You are creating in the new moment a continuance of the idea that nothing has changed. That is how you create the scenario that makes it seem as if changing is difficult. You are doing it all the time. But you are changing into ideas that allow you to think nothing has changed. But that is the definition you are creating.
If I'm not the same me that I was a minute ago,
Okay.
and
Come on, you are getting it.
well, what happens to identity, and where does memory come into play?
Oh, very good. Identity, your personality construct, is in a sense an artificial construct, created of three things: belief, emotion, and thought. It is a prism through which the white light of your consciousness is broken down into the spectrum of the physical reality. Your identity is always changing. You as a person is always changing. The person is not a fixed thing. The consciousness is, in a sense, but the person is never fixed. Do you not understand that you yourselves recognize that many times individuals go through situations, and when they emerge from these situations, you say, well, you're an entirely different person, aren't you? It is true. Same consciousness, you recognize the consciousness, but it is a different person, a different personality, which is the same thing. It is an artificial construct that now has been tailored to fit the new idea that the consciousness is willing to be. Memory is created in the present as well. You may think you are dredging something up from the past, but if you really stop and understand it and think about it, you recognize you are creating memory in the present. Therefore, the idea is that you will find that many individuals begin to forget the so-called past in fourth density, because they are beginning to recognize that they will know what they need to know in the present when they need to know it, and do not have to have an association with the past in order to know what they need to know. Everything is created in the present. Everything. The present is the only time in which you ever exist, is it not? No matter when you are, isn't it always now? Well, can you recall a time ever when you could say it is not now? Yes or no? Yes or no?
I can look at myself at other times.
You are doing that now.
Okay.
In other words, let me rephrase it. Anything you can ever experience yourself doing is always now. You follow me?
Yes.
You are experiencing the idea of a memory of the past now. When you were, quote unquote, living that past, it was still now when you were living it, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
There is always and only ever will be now. It is the only time there is. Now.
Is it the same moment all the time?
It is one eternal moment that can transform into different versions of itself. Yes. It does so and is so simultaneously. But because you have created a reality in which you have the idea of linear time, it does not seem to be the same moment. But it is. As we said, all things are one thing in different manifestations at the same time, including the perception of linear time. That is one manifestation of now existence. Because the only time you ever perceive linear time is from the now. You relate to the past and the future from the present. You do not relate to the present from the future. You follow me?
Yes.
All is now. Does that assist you?
Yes.
Choose what you wish to be now. All choices are equal. All choices are equal. Allowing all choices to be equal is what allows you to choose easily, because then nothing is beyond your reach. They are all on the same level. You follow me? Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
What I wanted to talk about was a feeling of danger that I have experienced a lot.
All right. Danger.
Danger.
Come on, everyone. Ooh, ooh.
Well, it has to do with public recognition.
Public recognition.
Yes, being like my name being known.
Yes.
Because I'm in the arts. And
So?
Well, it scares me.
Why?
Why? I don't know. It feels like it's from another life or something, to be quite honest.
What life? Do you think maybe you did a bad job once and somebody stoned you?
Could be. I don't. I had a dream the other night that I was with a group of people in the theater,
Yes.
and this very golden, large light came,
Yes.
and it was very powerful.
Yes.
And I knew whoever stepped into it was going to be killed.
Killed.
Yeah, right. So this boy would go into it and get killed.
Yes.
And I don't know where I would have that here now, but from when I was younger, I felt fear.
Do you know what you are afraid of?
Being killed, yeah, being somehow.
What does being killed mean? What is death?
Well, not transition. That's not clear.
Then why make a difference between transformation and death?
Well, maybe that's not the right word.
May I suggest what you are afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
Your own power.
Yes.
Do you feel that it is something you might misuse? Do you feel that you cannot feel that extent of your own power without the idea of continuing to function within integrity? Do you think it will get out of hand?
I never would. I don't think consciously that I would misuse it. Maybe I do unconsciously. I think that
All right.
the responsibility.
Let's do this. Right now, in your imagination, imagine that you are, quote unquote, successful. What does it feel like?
Well, it feels so good.
All right, it feels good. Define, therefore, now that you are feeling good, what success represents. What is going on to let you know you are, quote unquote, successful? How do you know you are successful? This is, let us say, an interview at a time when you are successful. So tell us, how do you know you are successful? Who lets you know this? How did you find out that you were successful? What are some of the signs?
Well, I just know how I feel now.
How you feel? How do you feel? What does that mean?
I say what I think.
You say what you think.
Yeah.
I see. That is being successful then. Freedom of expression, is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
All right, freedom of expression. Check that. Anything else? Are there any other signs that you needed to allow you to know you were now successful? What other signs did you create? What other feedback?
Did I create?
Now that you are successful, what's going on? Are you being mobbed with adoring fans? Is this one of the ideas that lets you know you are successful, or is it some other sign?
No. I'm working with. I'm meeting a lot of people.
People you enjoy working with?
Yeah. And having ideas that I have a new possibility. Not just the things I thought of last year. Each I give off sends another person to me and create.
So new forms of expression.
Yeah.
Same thing. Freedom of expression. Anything else?
A lot of fun dancing.
More freedom of expression.
Yes.
This is not going to be a very long article.
I don't work part-time at the Writers Guild typing, but that's...
All right. So you are saying that you prefer not to.
Right.
All right. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me, therefore, that before you allowed yourself to know that you were successful, something within your belief system said that freedom of expression was dangerous. So, what you are maybe saying is that you feel that you have created a scenario at some time in your life when you got negative feedback for expressing yourself freely, and maybe now are afraid to do it again. Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I am not going to hurt you for expressing yourself. I can't. No one can. Only you can. Do you think that what you have to share is worth sharing?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, all right, you seem very sure.
Oh, boy. Well, I like to.
Oh,
I don't know if it's worth it, but...
Same thing. Same thing. If that is what is your excitement, if that is what is your preference, then it is worth it. For you are willing to be the individual that you know yourself to be now. Recognize, if in a so-called past life or even in the past of your present life, you found that expressing yourself attracted, let us say, a negative reaction, then that is simply your opportunity to recognize that other individuals can recognize your power and can, in your situation, present you an opportunity to decide whether or not that power is something you will choose to keep.
At the last part of the sentence, I lost the other individuals.
Individuals who may recognize that you are willing to express yourself freely may find that that causes a reaction, reflection within themselves. Since they may not believe they can express themselves fully, they may not want to see anyone else do so. So they give you an opportunity to decide whether you will accept the belief that if they can't do it or don't think they can do it, that you shouldn't, or that you still can, regardless of what they have chosen for themselves, and recognize that in your willingness to continue to express yourself freely, you offer them the best opportunity to see in your reflection in which they can also choose to express themselves freely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Bashar.
One moment. You're a gift. Your own unique manifestation of all that is. By always being fully willing to express yourself as that gift, you will always be supported by all that is. Again, synchronicity. Live life. Act it out. Love it. It is what you are. You are life itself. Breathe it in, breathe it out. The golden globe is your own power, and it has the power to transform you from the child that was restricted into, in your terms, an adult that is limitless. The child, in a sense, while always with you, is in fact dead. So in this way, recognize that if death has allowed for the birth of an adult that is limitless, for only the aspect of the child that you were holding on to is what felt repressed. You know, children should be seen and not heard, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can be seen and heard, and you will be enjoyed. I thank you.
Thank you. In relation to the idea that we come to this planet as a learning planet, do we take on do we choose before coming to this planet as a schoolroom and choose certain individuals and certain
Basically, yes.
Certain
Yes.
circumstances? and
Yes.
people?
Yes. Yes.
So that's a person.
There is no accident.
Okay, but then at the time and point where it becomes uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. That may be part of the lesson.
Okay, would you then consider that to be a place where you could see it differently and send love and release that, or would you say that that's an indication for parting?
Can be. Again, the idea is that it doesn't have to translate into discomfort, but simply the recognition that the vibration is not representative of your particular vibration. You do not have to allow it to translate as far as discomfort.
So if you had harmony up until a certain point, and then
you still have harmony.
Mm-hmm.
You may have a different definition of your vibration and another individual's vibration, but recognizing that difference and granting equality and validity to it still creates harmony, even if it defines the physical reality as something that will separate. That is still a harmonious decision.
But you also could create the idea of staying together, too.
Yes, you could.
But would you then go back to the idea that there's a overall predestined choice that we've made in this planet?
What we are sharing with you is to simply allow your physical reality to be an obvious reflection of what you have chosen to experience. And if you find that there are, in your terms, unlike vibrations where there used to be like vibrations, then it is an indication that things are changing according to the path and the plan you created yourself to be. The way to find out if it is going to stay around is to let it go. But understand that even if it seems to stay around by changing, it is not the same situation anywhere. You follow me?
Okay, yeah.
Does that assist you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bashar.
Hey.
So I wanted to ask you, you talked one night about trust being the activating force.
Hey.
Could you reflect on that some more? I found that to be very useful to me. I've been thinking a lot about it, and I wondered if you could give it some more dimension.
It is simply your willingness to understand that every idea comes complete with all the ingredients necessary for the manifestation of that idea. That nothing comes incomplete. So that if you are willing to be an idea and know beyond the shadow of a doubt that that is simply the idea that represents the vibration that feels best to you, then everything that will be necessary to support you in being that idea will automatically, synchronistically, be presented to you in your life. Opportunities you can act upon that will always reinforce the idea you are willing to be.
And if you go with your feelings about a situation and the things that you think you need for that situation aren't there,
you don't need them.
Then you don't.
Correct. Allow yourself to be open to the fact that whatever you do need is there. By definition. Simply assume you have whatever you need, and therefore if you need anything else, it will be there.
So you just go with your feelings at all times.
That excitement is the vibration. Your physiological translation of the vibration that represents the path you chose to be. Follow what excites you. Simply assume you have whatever you need, and therefore if you need anything else, it will be there.
You just go with your feelings at all times.
That excitement is the vibration. Your physiological translation of the vibration that represents the path you chose to be. Follow what excites you.
I like that. And I want to ask you one other thing. The animal kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and the vegetable kingdom, are they, all the beings or entities in those kingdoms, are they evolving toward the human experience?
In a sense, but recognize again that only from your point of view is time linear.
Right.
Therefore, this is a simultaneous occurrence. It is not that they are, so to speak, exactly evolving. Your concept, through time, is of evolution.
Right.
You may find that it is just as valid to look at it as if you decided in this way to have an entire series of human reincarnations in this way, and then, in a sense, after the fact, perhaps project your consciousness into the idea of the mineral kingdom. Just because. Now, because of what you have created linear time to be, once you are in linear time, you may then look at the circumstances as having projected yourself into the mineral kingdom first, and then the human kingdom later, simply because you think of it as an evolutionary process.
Okay.
But in this way, there is the idea of consciousness transforming into other types, so to speak, of consciousness. Okay.
I was just wondering if we would experience all aspects of the physical experience, like the mineral, vegetable, animal, and if we would do it.
If you wish to look at it in a linear progression, you may look at it this way. The idea is that you were first and foremost non-physical. So you got used to physicality in varying stages of complexity, arriving, so to speak, where you are now, and moving on.
And because the human is a more aware, supposedly a more aware, or as we see it, that would be the end of the line.
It is aware in a different way. In a way that allows for self-reflection. Whereas the majority of other consciousness that you are describing simply knows what it is, without the need for self-reflection.
Could that be a higher form of being, just knowing what you are?
In a sense, but recognize that it is in your terms higher to have had the reflection and then include it in the knowingness.
So it just goes around, kind of. You experience it all and then you evolve on to other things.
Okay.
Out of the physical.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
You. All right, you. Then you.
Me?
You.
Thank you. Could you talk a little bit about the power of prayer, the power of using like your intention and
Louder?
the power of prayer?
Yes. It is being in communication with all that is. It is knowing and recognizing the connection. It is recognizing that that is what you are. It is again, once again, the allowance of synchronicity. That is prayer.
What about like praying for another being, another person, like sending?
You can always feel that you are connected to everyone, everything, and always radiate your compassion for them, but recognize that the idea of praying for someone else does not necessarily have to include the idea that you are reinforcing that you think they need it. Because then you are only sending the vibration that they are something less than what you imagine they should be. The idea is simply that you support them as they are and trust, know that what they have chosen to be will serve them, and that they can choose to recognize it and then choose what they prefer. That is how you pray for someone else. You follow me?
What about for yourself?
We have already discussed that. The idea of simply trusting that your life as it is what you have chosen it to be. That you are in control of everything you experience, that it serves you. Let it, and you will see how it does. Then you will choose what to prefer. Praying, again, is simply being in touch with all the different levels upon which you exist. And trusting that how any particular level manifests itself is the result of being in touch with all the other levels, and not the result of not being in touch. Did you catch that? Prayer is the trust that, in this way, what is happening in your life is the result of being in touch with all levels of yourself, and not the result of not being in touch. Trust. That is direct communication. All that is, which is prayer. Well, that answers your question. Thank you.
Yes, Bashar, this Friday is a very significant day for me. It's the end of a 15-year career in a particular profession. And consciously
congratulations.
Thank you. But it's bringing up a lot of emotionality.
Congratulations again. More surprise. Congratulations.
A lot of surprise. I want to solicit maybe some of your help. And also,
what are you going to do now?
That's the interesting part. I don't know.
Yes, you do. What excites you?
Well, I have a lot of things that are called, what I call projects.
Yes. Do any of them excite you?
Yes, and many of them are taking the form of businesses, which, one particular business, which can happen. And what's happening is, I realized the last 15 years were a struggle for me.
All right.
And it was a profession that I did out of necessity to raise my family, and I'm at a point where I don't
Out of choice.
Out of choice, but I didn't understand the metaphysical practice
I'm
doing now.
All right.
And didn't even realize how much of a struggle it was. So by choice, I'm choosing, the point is, I'm choosing to not struggle in this new phase of my life, okay? And I'm going through almost like a sadness, because I'm starting
remnants of your judgment,
yes,
that is all.
No, but I'm starting to remember with fondness some of the actual struggle.
All right.
What I used to think was a negative thing, I don't know why this is happening.
Yes, you do. You are integrating. You are allowing everything in your life to be equal to everything else and let it serve you. So the memories you are creating from the present of the past are now fond.
It doesn't feel painful. It feels almost melancholy.
Yes.
And something happened which brought this to my consciousness, which is why because I'm sweating and telling you this. I'm experiencing not a fear, but there's a lot of emotion around it.
Yes. You are vibrating, accelerating, combining, amalgamating.
Yesterday was my daughter's 6th grade graduation, and it represented the culmination of the years of child rearing that I feel I don't have to be so involved in. And so it's another example of this transition where I've accomplished something, and they have a symbol where you go to a graduation ceremony. It was very beautiful. And my whole family was there, and the whole experience was another form of integration, very pleasant experience. That night, which was last night, I lit a candle behind a crystal that I often use for meditation. And I can see through the crystal, if I want to open my eyes, the flame flickering. And I left it on all night, which I do many times. Just when I was waking up this morning, in those early hours, as we speak about, I had an experience which felt like I was actually experiencing this, and I was judging it, thinking about it in my mind. The experience was, I saw the flame through the candle go out, and I said to myself in my dream, that's an amazing thing. I tuned into the crystal just as the flame was going out.
Synchronicity.
Okay, in my dream state. Okay, I don't know how much time elapsed, but all of a sudden I smelled this awful smell in real life, and the whole part of the candle had cracked the glass, and the wax was all over, and huge flames leapt up about maybe 2 feet high, and the thing was on fire. And I smelled it, which brought me awake. I jumped out of bed, and I blew it out, and I put the thing outside because it was, a lot of smoke. And all day long today, I've been affected by this, thinking we bring things to us that we have to learn from. What did I bring this to myself for? What do I need to learn from this? And I had an insight into that, and I want to share that with you.
Do share.
Well, I felt that in my bringing my consciousness to the dream state of the candle and the crystal, I extinguished my old life. Okay? It's a certain part of the past is literally going out. But a new flame is emerging, and it really happened. Okay? In real life, the fire ignited. And it's literally knocking me down. I'm very tired. I'm exhausted.
You will get used to it. As you blend your dream reality and your physical reality into one reality, it will ease up. You are removing the separation between the two levels because both are real. You have blended them in that incident and begun to accelerate. Anything that tires you out is only remnant judgment. You will acclimate. You are beginning to live your dreams. Literally. It is fourth density symptom. Congratulations.
So the fatigue is just part of the process, so to speak.
For now.
And I feel like I've lost that spark of enthusiasm when you say the spark of wanting, of motivation to live your life. I mean, this is tiring me out to the point where I just want to sleep,
Then sleep.
Yeah.
Form the connection that will allow you to know that when you wake up, you will still be dreaming. And always awake when you are asleep. You will blend. As you say, since you are creating it to take time, give it some time. Go easy on yourself. You have just graduated. Take a vacation. Thank you. Yay!
I wanted to share something. Last week I was channeling my friend, and when it was all over, I was getting up and I realized that I didn't need to channel them anymore. That I just knew. And I realized since then that I had actually integrated with them.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And it is very nice.
Thank you.
And I've also noticed some other things happening.
Do share.
Okay. I've noticed that my business has gotten very, very busy.
Okay.
At the same time, I have a lot less time.
Okay. When you integrate, you create less time.
Yes.
So in this way, simply recognize that the time you have is all the time you need.
Okay. And then one other thing I noticed is my husband, it's like he's grasping for me. Like he feels like I'm disappearing.
Show him you are not disappearing. Simply allow the individual to see in you a reflection of the potential within himself. To know that nothing is ever lost.
Okay.
That a relationship continues forever, no matter what the definition.
And there was something else I can't think of it now. So that's fine. Thank you, Bashar.
Thank you,
Bashar?
Malaya. Our perception at this time of the golden ring, the vibrational tone that represents the blending you have created. Malaya. Good.
so intrigued by your definition of emotions. I just have one more.
Oh, wait.
What is worry?
Worry?
Worry.
Worry.
Excuse me. Worry. Worry. W-O-R-R-Y.
Lack of trust.
It seems such a chronic state for me.
Chronic.
I know.
Are you worried about it? Understand that is when you allow yourself to trust that you can live in the moment now, then nothing will be chronic anymore. There won't be the sensation of the idea of the creation of enough time for there to be anything chronic within. Follow me. Only separation and judgment create time, more time, and allow enough time for things to happen chronically, like reincarnation. Thank you.
Bashar?
Yes.
I would like some assistance and guidance. I have a daughter who's 14, and I find with the idea of judgment, I find it very difficult not to be judgmental with my daughter, simply in the area of getting her to do schoolwork and just the regular things that we do with teenagers.
So, she has taught you that it is easy for you to be judgmental.
Yeah. But I don't like it. I
Then
notice
don't do it.
Well, I feel that the area I have difficulty is I feel the responsibility to have her understand reading, writing, learning her schoolwork.
If you are willing to be responsible to her, then you don't have to be responsible for her.
That's where it gets difficult is...
If you say so.
Yes, I do.
What are you learning in creating such difficulty of communication?
I'm not sure because I'm fighting with it all the time. What I would like to do is have her...
How about discussing, or have you, her feelings on what it is she is learning?
I have. There's not a high interest.
All right. What is there a high interest in?
At this present time, there doesn't seem to be too much.
Have you asked? Do you think you have presented yourself in such a way that she would feel comfortable in telling you?
Not recently.
Then why don't you? Find out what the interest is that is there. And perhaps by sharing the ideas that can be learned from that, you can adapt the interest in ways that will allow that individual, your daughter, to adapt the energy in her own ways to allow there to be the learning that needs to be there. If you allow the individual to learn in their own terms, with the energy that they define to be what will allow them to learn, rather than enforcing a particular methodology upon them, which you may think is the only way in which somebody can learn.
I personally, actually, I left out the aspect of my husband, who has a much stronger viewpoint on enforcing that she do her schoolwork and stuff, and I feel that I have to carry his torch. And I'm very tired.
Is it getting heavy?
Yeah. I don't want to do it.
All right. Then again, you can share with him as well the understanding that to find out what is the driving motivation of another individual is what will allow you to see how you can suggest to the other individual how they can use their own driving motivation to learn what they want to learn.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Recognize you have all chosen to be with each other. You are all teachers and learners.
Bashar?
There will be, in your turn, a few moments remaining for this interaction, okay?
What do you mean by being responsible to? I understand the part about being responsible for.
I thought so. Being responsible to someone is being the most complete version of yourself you can be so that they have an accurate reflection of you to see themselves within. Being fully who you are allows them the opportunity to see within you opportunities that they can then choose for themselves if they desire to. That is how you can assist someone, but not taking responsibility for what they have chosen to be, for that is their choice.
With children, it can be a problem. I know I have a 15...
It can be a what?
Well, a challenge or whatever.
It is a situation.
Yes. I have a 15-year-old son. I was listening to her talk, and I could sympathize.
Would you like to get the son and daughter together? Perhaps there may be much in common for the families to discuss.
With him, I realized he had the need to define himself now on his own terms, and I want to be comfortable in allowing him to do that and still be harmonious together.
Then you can share the understanding that you have of what is being done, and simply reflect to that individual that every individual is as powerful as they need to be anything they want, without having to hurt anyone else to get it.
Yay!
So define a way, and simply recognize that if the individual comes upon a definition that requires that they enforce or force themselves upon someone else, there is an easier way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yay!
I have a question regarding the animal consciousness, say, just take the animal consciousness and the human consciousness. Now, I have an understanding from readings with other channels that the animal kingdom represented its own consciousness and didn't really cross into the human consciousness, that they could evolve in their own densities.
In a sense, yes, but there also is the opportunity for all levels of consciousness to transform into other levels of consciousness. This is not a reincarnational experience. This is something quite beyond that idea.
So then you're saying both ideas are accurate
Yes.
depending on how they presented it?
Yes.
Well, is there any way you can expand that we would understand the idea beyond reincarnation?
Perhaps you may look at it this way. You are reincarnational in the idea of animal consciousness as animal consciousness as long as you remain within the idea of the identification as animal consciousness. After, quote-unquote, a long time, so to speak, maybe, there is the opportunity for the animal consciousness, or the fragment thereof, to recognize its connection, perhaps, to other different levels of consciousness, and form an attachment to it, and draw to itself assimilations of different portions of the consciousness of all that is, so that it can also interact in that way, but then it is no longer the idea of animal consciousness and not exactly the same thing that made the decision to do so in the first place. So it still has remained as animal consciousness. What has become human is its own reality and does not relate specifically to the idea that it is the animal that has become human.
Oh, so is it kind of like a split? Like a...
Sort of, kind of.
Okay, well, that's fine. That's good for now. Thank you.
All right.
Bashar,
Hey!
last week you mentioned the time of 10 to 13 years before you would come here physically, and
Before it was possible.
Yes, and I take that to mean that our blending into the fourth density will determine that.
Okay.
Whereas at another time you had said it was 6 to 7 years. I have to say that I like the 6 to 7 years.
Then perhaps that will be your reality.
I see. Oh, great, then. Just speed it right up. The other question I have is that I've been experiencing, particularly now, all through the evening, almost a sense that I could jump out of my skin. It's a type of tension that seems to originate from the solar plexus.
Yes.
And
The chakra of intention, creative pressure.
Very much so.
The expansion of yourself to all different levels of yourself in physical terms, jumping out of your skin.
Yeah, all right. Then another interesting thing to that is that a year ago, September, I was told that I have a growth on my left ovary, in addition to the fact that my uterus is enlarged. Now, I've been trying to...
Trying?
Yes, trying. I can't grasp exactly what that represents. Those are reproductive organs. There's something growing there. It is not malignant or anything. It's just, I had it checked by sound scan, and I wonder if you have any insight into that.
Do you have children?
No.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
When? A few years?
Well, anytime.
Are you sure? Think about it.
Well, there has to...
When would it be in your terms truly convenient?
When there's a daddy there, for starters.
All right.
And that would be convenient probably any time. There are numerous daddies around, but as far as them being fathers, that's another question.
So in this way, what you are saying is that it is entirely all right with you to put some sort of a regulatory phenomena upon your ability to reproduce at this time.
Absolutely. And that's what this represents.
Yes.
A growth on my ovary? That's
Yes,
fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. I'm having a baby, and it's this thing.
Let us say the idea is that it represents to you the plugging of a doorway.
Oh, it does, you know.
Until the timing is correct.
Okay. That actually really indicates. That's so simple that that's lovely.
Be in touch with the consciousness. You will understand the timing, you will feel it. And in that way, the insistence will be removed.
Insistence? Wait a minute. What? Insistence? What insistence?
Insistence.
Gotcha.
Is everything so literal?
Many times, yes.
I mean,
For you will find that what you have created your language to be is usually a reflection of what you believe your reality is.
Do different words have different energy frequencies?
Yes, they represent the concept, different frequencies. Many times, again, even what you have said, though we understand the way in which you usually mean it, the idea of something being amazing. You cannot fathom it.
Right.
You are lost in the maze.
Maze, right.
That's amazing.
There are two ways. Do that to tell ourselves something if we'll really listen to what we're saying?
Yes. This will give you the opportunity to understand that many, many more things than you realize are conscious choices if you would but listen to what you say about your reality. I have difficulty understanding this. That is a choice. Listen to yourself. You are choosing that reality. I have difficult. Wait a minute. Why? We will, at this time, extend to you the reminder that if you are willing now to understand the idea we have described, synchronicity, 1, 2, all the synchronicity, act like it with integrity. Explore the idea of coincidence and synchronicity in the literature that is available in your civilization. The coincidental occurrence of all of you doing so at the same time will increase the synchronicity in your lives. Explore. We thank you for the interaction of the gift of your consciousness this night of your time. You and us, all that is the sharing that continues forever. We bid you exciting synchronicity and a fond and loving good night.